I am a little bit concerned for the crypto markets right now because we are on the edge here. And if the bulls don't step in soon, we are at risk of another breakdown and going a lot lower. And I want to explain to you real quick in this video why I believe that is the case. So Bitcoin is currently trading at $114,000. This is the weekly chart. We have the 50-week moving average here in blue, as you can see. And we are closing in on the longest cycle length of Bitcoin ever, which is 550 days past the halving, which is somewhere in the middle of October. So we have approximately 2 months left until we reach that point in time. Keep in mind, this is very important what that means in plain simple English. That is the longest that any single crypto bull market for Bitcoin has gone on after the halving. Nothing in the history of Bitcoin since it was launched since 2009 has exceeded past this point. So you can see every single cycle people say this time is different. Every single cycle there are some reasons to believe it's different, but so far it has never been different. You can say this time is different because institutions are buying, because there's ETFs, etc., etc. But so far the cycle is playing out in the exact same way. And until it actually is different, assuming that it's going to be different is a very dangerous game to play, because we are also seeing bearish RSI divergences on the weekly chart in the same way that we've seen it in the previous cycle top. We're simply just closing in. There's many different top signals, including so many influential figures and talking heads on TV saying the price is going way up. Michael Saylor saying there's not going to be a bear market again. Copycats, companies that are raising money for their treasuries that have nothing to do with finance that are now buying Bitcoin. It just all seems like things that you would see towards the end of the cycle. Also, like I've been saying, we're starting to see people shill higher price targets while they themselves are selling influential figures. The Ripple co-founder who's sending money to exchanges and selling XRP. We have Arthur Hayes who is saying price is going a lot higher, and then in fact his accounts show that he's selling, and maybe he's only selling a small portion. But if everyone believes that this is going much higher, then why are they selling? Why is there this distribution that is happening from whales? Why are people selling towards the top? Why are accounts or wallets in Bitcoin that have been dormant for 7 to 10 years waking up and starting to sell their Bitcoin? That is not something that people like this do if they believe it's going a lot higher. So the signs are here. And as unpopular as it is for me to make these videos warning people about this, the reason why I continue to do this is because I genuinely want people to have success with crypto and not get wrecked. I've been in the space for a long time. Making videos saying the cycle is coming to an end are very unpopular. They don't get as much views, they don't get as much engagement, and I get a lot of hate comments saying I'm wrong, I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm too early, etc., etc. Look, I can also just be like most of these influencers that know nothing, and all they do is bull post, right? And they're saying, oh, we're going to the moon, there's going to be no more bear market, you're going to get so rich if you have your money in altcoins. Bitcoin is going to at least 250,000 before the end of the year. Ethereum is going to 15,000. You know, okay, you watch my views go up if I do that, watch my engagement go up, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that's the case. And I couldn't just sit here and make videos like that because I don't believe it. If it does end up happening on the off chance, okay, that's why I make these videos, and I always say things with an if-then type of framework, where as long as we are continuing bullish and as long as certain levels hold, yeah, we continue to go higher and maybe we play that way. But all of these things together, the cycles are warning us. And this is especially important for those of you watching who aren't professional traders, who don't have these experience with markets. And I've seen a lot of people get really wrecked because every cycle they come in and they believe all these moon boys and all these influencers are saying we're going to the moon, and who believe the talking heads on TV that say we're never going to get a bear market, and then they go in with their savings, or they take out a loan, or they put in their 401k or their college fund at the top of the markets, and the market drops and they get absolutely wrecked, and it takes them years and years and years to recover. those are the kind of people that I want to reach with my content to try and help them and educate them. At the end of the day, it's your money. You can do with it what you want. But we're looking at data here. We're looking at charts. We're looking at patterns. We're looking at facts as much as possible. And then we try and use that to be able to make an educated opinion on what to do. So if you're looking at this by all the data points and all the factors, we are not at a point now, 16 months after a Bitcoin halving, where we only have 2 months left according to previous cycles, if nothing is different this time, way above the 50-week moving average, after a massive run, 6 to 7x up from the lows. This is not the point where it's a favorable risk reward where you start going all in on crypto, not at all. That is something that you can start doing towards the end of a bear market, when prices are way below their 50-week moving average after we've had a lot of downside, right? That's when you want to start looking at that. But now, no, that's not the time to look at it. And of course, calling a top isn't always an easy thing to do because you don't know exactly. It's very easy in hindsight, but we look at the patterns, right? So we have the data, the timing cycle, which is potentially 2 months ago. And we have these bearish RSI divergences. We have a whole bunch of top signals. What is happening right now? And you can see here, I've got these 2 red blocks over here where maybe there's a similarity, right? You can see over here, deviation above the previous cycle high and then the top. And as we're getting closer and closer to that 18-month window, as we get closer to the middle of October, look, it's starting to look similar. We have a wick. Now we could have another wick up as a grand kind of finale, but I think it's time to start getting cautious and at least have a strategy, at least have a plan and think about what you're going to do if things start to drop. I mean, if your strategy is you're just going to hold on no matter what, okay, cool. Well, at least you have a strategy, right? If your strategy is you want to take profits or you want to reduce your position or you want to hedge with the short, or at a certain level you'll just decide you're going to completely exit altcoins, move everything into BTC and hold, that's also a strategy and that's completely fine. But what you shouldn't do is just be praying and hoping that it only goes up and that we're still going to go a lot higher and then not have an exit strategy, or be caught holding this all the way down without that being your intention, right? You can say at the end of the day, if it drops and you're holding it, okay, there's nothing you can do at that point. But now you're at the point where you still have so many different options of what are you going to do with your portfolio? What are you going to do? If you're just all in Bitcoin and you're going to hold and you're just going to dollar cost average, that's a strategy. And I think we're at a decision point here very much. This is the 4-hourly chart. I think this level between, say, 111 and 109,000 is very, very key. So we could have had a point where we broke above it. This is a new all-time high, and we come back for a retest. If this level holds between 109 and where we're currently at, it was already 112, then we could be looking at another run back up to 123,000 and higher in the short term. I would say if we lose this level, if we get a close here below 109, maybe 108, then the risk for a breakdown across the whole market becomes a lot higher. So we are at a very key level over here, and I think we're going to find out very soon, probably this week. Do we get a breakdown or do we get a bounce? Ideally, if the historical data plays out, we still get that bounce to the upside. I think if that pattern repeats, August before the bear market ends up being green, hopefully we get one more run past 123. Maybe we go to 125, 130,000, maybe 140,000 on a crazy melt up. That would be very nice. But I would say also be prepared in case we lose 109,000, then we could end up going a lot lower. Now, I would say looking at Ethereum, I still think there's a good argument to be made on a technical basis that Ethereum should take out these 4,000 equal highs and maybe even wick above the previous all-time high. There is still that timing window. So we have about 2 months left for Bitcoin to hit the max cycle length. And we've seen before in previous cycles that Ethereum and altcoins could actually last a little bit longer than Bitcoin, where it could take 2, 3, 4 weeks beyond that. So we probably have a window until November for Ethereum to do this, which is about 3 months from now. And obviously in 3 months, a lot can happen. As you know, you can just go and look at the price of Ethereum, what it's done previously. Even if you just copy this fractal, you can see this lines up perfectly with this timing. Somewhere, let's say like November, it could happen. So basically a little bit more consolidation and move up over the next 3 months, maybe all-time highs, 5,000, 6,000, maybe something like that, which would also hopefully then leave a little bit of a push for altcoins a little bit higher. But that might then just be the complete cycle top. And if this happens, once again, have a plan. Know what you're going to do, when you're going to sell, when you're going to take profits, when you're going to get out of altcoins. Because historically speaking, in the bear markets, Bitcoin gets wrecked, yes, but a lot less than almost all of the altcoins. So while Bitcoin may only have a 60 or a 70% drawdown this time, 50%, whatever it's going to be, altcoins are going to get a lot bigger drawdown from the cycle tops. And we're talking about even like a lot of these lower cap coins, the meme coins, the shit coins, doing 90 to 90% drawdowns from their peak in the next bear market, based on what has happened in last cycles. Now, the reason why I'm a little bit concerned here and why I'm making this video also, and why the bulls need to step in really soon, otherwise we risk a larger breakdown across the whole market, is because in my last video I also shared this that I made on Monday, I believe, a bunch of these altcoins have lost their 50-week moving average with a close back below, and this is technically bearish. Okay, it's a very simple strategy. Above the 50-week moving average is bullish, below it is bearish. And we have had closes like Solana close back below its 50-week moving average. And as you can see right now, it has retested it at 171. We're down at 164. And what you could also potentially say here is maybe, what if this is a bearish head and shoulders, right? Left shoulder, head, and right shoulder rejection here below the 50-week moving average. It's going to depend very much on Bitcoin, but if Bitcoin can't hold up and it actually breaks down below that 109,000, I think we could see a pretty large sell-off in the market still. So we are not in the clear just yet. The bulls need to step in really, really quickly. That 109,000 on Bitcoin has to hold, and we need to start seeing movement to the upside, or there's larger downside risk here. We're going to have to wait and see. Ideally, we want to see a reclaim of this 50-week moving average for Solana, for Pepe, for Doge, for all these coins. Once they get back above the 50-week moving average, things start to look more promising towards the cycle end. Keep in mind also with altcoins specifically, they tend to have the largest move in the last few weeks of the cycle. So if we still have 2 to 3 months left, there is still room for a big pump across the markets if that happens. But really, both options are on the table right now. We have to follow the charts. We're literally on the edge here. The bulls need to step in really, really soon, or we're at risk of a larger sell-off. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think the market is cooked? Do you think the bull cycle is finished? Or are we still going to get a final pump before things are over? I would love to hear your comments.